And now to that breaking news we've been watching really since midnight. Auto workers on the picket lines as they strike against 3 U.S. assembly plants.
Now, this is really one of the biggest labor strikes to hit the country in years. Jared Hill with CBS News joining us now live with the very latest. Jared, we've been watching this strike now going on into the 6th hour.
Yeah, this is potentially just the beginning in this one, and there are questions around exactly how long and how wide this could end up being. The United Auto Workers are pushing not just for raises here, but to get back some of what they say they gave up to help these companies stay afloat around the Great Recession. But the execs are arguing that some of the demands just go too far. For the first time ever, the United Auto Workers began a strike against the big 3 automakers at the same time.
The money is there, the cause is righteous, the world is watching, and the UAW is ready to stand up. This is our defining moment.
The union contract with Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis expired just before midnight, triggering the first round of walkouts at 3 factories. A GM plant in Missouri, a Stellantis plant in Ohio, and a Ford plant in Michigan.
We put everything back in place and we just walked out.
Production operator Bianca Harris found out her plant would strike just before her lunch break.
We want to be able to provide long-term for our family, so I was pretty honored to be called upon to strike first.
The UAW is seeking up to a 40% raise, while the 3 automakers are offering about half that. Also on the wish list, a 32-hour work week and the return of pensions, non-starters for the car companies. The union also wants to phase out concessions made in 2008 when car makers teetered on the verge of collapse. The big 3 have been on a roll of big profits over the last decade, totaling more than $20 billion this year alone.
It's a big deal for us. We need to get compensated.
Ford, GM, and Stellantis all put out statements overnight saying they were disappointed with the strike while vowing to continue working toward a fair agreement. All right, so this strike strategically targeted plants that make some of the more popular trucks and SUVs like the Jeep Wrangler and Ford's Bronco. But some experts say that they didn't go after the really big cash cows here, like the full-size pickup trucks, the bigger SUVs, putting a squeeze on these companies right now, but not totally choking them out, at least not yet. Back to you.
Well, Jared, Shawn Fain, the UAW president, has really been very strategic in this and very aggressive. What are you hearing about what they will do after today?
So he has been saying that anything is on the table, and that could potentially include expanding the strike beyond these 3 specific locations that they've been looking at. But he has been keeping some of those details close to the vest, saying that they would utilize those as bargaining chips, bargaining tools. The element of surprise, he says, works in their favor. And so we don't know quite yet exactly how far they're willing to go and how quickly that could happen.
Nor do we know when they might both come back to the negotiating table, right? So I do have a question, Jared. You know, we've seen a movement of unions really of late, kind of drawing a line in the sand. We're talking Hollywood writers we saw for the past few months, actors, college professors. Right. What do you think and what are you hearing is really the commonality with all this?
So there are a couple of things that are happening at one time. One, we do know that statistically speaking, looking at some of the polls here, that unions are more popular than ever. Generally speaking, the American public has a more favorable view of unions than they have had in the past. They're also, as we have been seeing and been hearing from some labor economists, that the past 2 to 3 years during the pandemic has really kind of given a lot of power back to some employees, back to workers over the past couple of years, and that potentially this could be a space that we're seeing all of this coming up to a head, especially again with these particular unions and organized groups. But at the same time, not that many Americans are currently in a union, but it does seem as though they have at least a bit of bargaining power potentially right now.
All right, Jared Hill for us. Thank you for that update. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Yeah.
All right, Jared, thank you. Meantime, auto workers are getting some support this morning from unions across different industries. Just after midnight, SAG-AFTRA, which represents those actors, posted this show of support saying, "We stand with the UAW in the fight for economic justice." As we know, actors and writers have been on strike since early summer against Hollywood studios over similar demands of pay and benefits.